My wife, Ella, and I have shared 7 years together, 5 of them as husband and wife. She is 32. I am 35. 2 years ago, my world was shattered when she confessed to cheating on me with a coworker. Before that moment, I had always believed cheating was a red line, an absolute deal breaker. I was certain that I would never stay with someone who betrayed me in such a deep, intimate way. Divorce seemed like the only path forward. But then, something inside me hesitated. Ella was remorseful. At least that's what I believed at the time. She claimed that it was a mistake, just a single night, and that she was willing to do whatever it took to regain my trust. Against everything I thought I stood for, I found myself trying to forgive her. I factored in things that allowed me to push past the pain and give our relationship another chance. She confessed to me voluntarily. She wasn't caught, she didn't have to. That gave me a fragile sense of hope that maybe this wasn't the end. Maybe she regretted it deeply enough to come clean on her own. It was one time, she said, at a housewarming party. I remember that night vividly. She didn't come home until 4 a.m., and I sent her message after message, checking in to see if she was okay, wondering if she was too drunk to drive, worried that something had happened to her. My mind had gone to every place except the one where it should have gone, that she was with someone else. After confessing, she quit her job, unprompted, to prove that she was willing to hold herself to better boundaries, to keep away from the man she had betrayed me with. I didn't ask her to. In fact, I discouraged her at the time. I was so set on divorcing her, and I thought her unemployment might complicate things further. But still, she left her job. It felt like a step toward healing, or at least toward accountability. And then there was my own guilt. When I was 19, I cheated on a girlfriend with a drunken kiss. It wasn't the same. Ella's betrayal was so much deeper, so much worse, but a part of me felt like a hypocrite for not being able to forgive. My ex had forgiven me. Shouldn't I at least try? Ella was the most compatible person I'd ever been with. And in every other way, our relationship felt perfect. So I decided to forgive her. We stayed together, and I set one condition. She had to sign a post-nup, including an infidelity clause. It wasn't meant to be punitive, just a safeguard for my own heart. She agreed without hesitation. We both got independent legal advice, and it was done. Then, last month, I received a message on Facebook. It was from Alice, the wife of Ella's affair partner. She had discovered their affair while going through her husband Bill's electronic devices. She reached out to me, asking if I knew. I told her I did, that Ella had confessed 2 years ago. I assumed that was the end of it, but Alice wasn't finished. She told me something that broke me all over again. The affair hadn't been a one-time drunken mistake. It had lasted for 5 months. 5 months of lies, of deliberate choices. Over 10 physical encounters. When she clarified that it wasn't just emotional, my stomach dropped. It felt like I had been hit by a train. Suddenly, the affair wasn't something that had happened to me. It wasn't just one bad decision. It was a series of decisions day after day, lie after lie. I felt like an absolute fool. I had spent 2 years trying to rebuild trust on a foundation of deception. This weekend, I confronted Ella. She admitted it. When I asked why she hadn't told me the full truth, her answer made me feel even smaller. Because you wouldn't have forgiven me if I had. She stood there, saying that it didn't matter anymore, that we'd made 2 years of progress, that whether it was once or 10 times, it was all in the past. But how could she say that? How could she think her confession showed remorse, when she withheld the very truth that would have given me the agency to decide if I could ever forgive her? Her confession wasn't about respecting me or our marriage. It was about protecting herself. Now, I don't know if there's anything left to salvage. She wants to go back to couples therapy, but how could that possibly work when I trust her even less than I did when she first confessed? Right now, all I can think about is the post-nup, the one thing that might let me walk away from this without losing everything. I'm back to considering divorce, and this time, I don't see how I could ever go back. Your reconciliation is built on lies. Most are to some extent, as the cheater will minimize or hide as much as they can, but this is unforgivable. You have every right to divorce. However, I don't understand why bring in the prenup to this question. Because she'll lose more? That doesn't matter. You simply have to divorce. I also think that your prenup is unlikely to cover an infidelity that's already known, unless it covers more truths being known about the affair. However, that's for both your lawyers. There's no trust or respect here. Divorce. Your energy would be better spent finding peace, rather than focusing on punishing her. You've been through enough betrayal already, and dragging this out only prolongs the pain. Trying to use the prenup as leverage feels like a distraction from the bigger truth. Your relationship was built on broken promises, and now, even the repair you thought you were making was built on lies. It's time to move forward, not out of revenge, but for your own well-being. You deserve better than a life lived in constant doubt and mistrust. Rightly so. Never reconcile with a cheater, and never believe you know the whole story. You never get more than what they think you'll forgive them for. Volunteered information is always a deception, hiding a greater offense by being honest about a lesser one. You think she confessed because she felt guilty? She was making sure you found out from her because they got caught and she wanted to get to you first. You think it was a one-time thing? It was going on for a long time. You think she quit her job? She got fired because of the affair with a coworker. At no point did you do anything but be led around by the nose. You never even bothered to get the evidence the other guy's wife had, so you had no real information to judge for yourself. Whatever anyone else said was good enough for you. You want to know how you can trust your wife again? Ask her. She'll have a convenient answer, and you'll accept it without question, just like before. You won't have to go through all the trouble of thinking for yourself, because she's already made it easy for you. Fed you just enough lies to keep you on the hook. And as long as you keep taking the bait, she'll keep leading you down the same path of betrayal, dishonesty, and manipulation. You need to wake up. Trust isn't something you get by asking for it. It's earned through transparency and honesty, neither of which you've had from her. You can't trust her again. Whether that means you leave or stay is up to you. She cheated, breaking the trust, and somehow you managed to get past that. But even when she was supposedly trying to rebuild that trust and save the marriage, she still couldn't manage to tell the whole truth. So who knows how much more she's hiding? And then there's the scale of the cheating. It wasn't just a drunken one-night stand, which is already terrible. It wasn't a mistake or an accident. Even if it had been a one-time thing, it was a choice. But no, this was a months-long affair, full of deceit, emotional and physical cheating, lying to you, covering her tracks. That takes commitment, a massive, conscious effort to keep you in the dark. So that leads to the real question. Why did she confess in the first place? You gave her credit for that, believing it was out of guilt or remorse. But what she confessed to wasn't even close to the whole story. It wasn't an honest admission. It was damage control. She didn't tell you out of respect for you or the marriage. It was because she was about to get caught, and she wanted to control the narrative. She manipulated you into thinking she was coming clean on her terms, so you'd be more likely to stay. If it were me, I'd be gone. Probably the first time, but definitely now. Whether the post-nup holds up or not, it's irrelevant to the bigger issue. Your marriage is built on deceit, and she's proven that even in her confession, she can't be trusted. I have never posted a comment on Reddit, but I feel compelled to say something about the apparent draw or connection or the day-to-day closeness/resonance that you have, or at least feel, for this woman. I was also cheated on by my ex-husband, which is why we broke up. But the real reason for the breakup was exactly what everyone is saying here and what you're sensing in your gut. Yes, the infidelity was terrible, but the lies, the constant piling lies, years of them, were what truly broke me. Once I started questioning everything, the floodgates opened. I found out there were lies about things I hadn't even thought to question from before the affair even started. Lies about little things that seemed unnecessary, but they were all self-serving. House repairs, money. They trickled out over time, and after the divorce, it became clear how much damage his dishonesty had done, both financially and emotionally. Here's the really important part, what compelled me to write, because I hope it helps you get over her. What I discovered was that most of his persona, the day-to-day bliss and compatibility, the ways in which I felt so connected to him, was actually a lie. He'd constructed a version of himself that would keep me hooked, saying and doing things to make me feel secure and happy. It turned out that the man I thought was so compatible with me was never real. Maybe it wasn't all calculated, but when someone lies so deeply and for so long, you can't even tell what parts of them are real anymore. I'm sharing this because maybe it resonates with what you're feeling about your bond with her. It's possible that much of what you feel is compatibility, is her chameleon-like ability to be what she thinks you want. Narcissists, or even just people with a tendency to deceive, can shapeshift to fit their partner's desires in subtle ways, making you think you've found someone who's perfect for you. But that's not a real relationship. It's a carefully constructed illusion, one that ultimately serves their need to keep you attached. And while it might feel like a strong connection, it's not rooted in authenticity. You deserve better. You deserve someone who is real, even if that means your next relationship isn't as perfect on the surface. The honesty, even when things aren't easy, is worth so much more than a false sense of connection based on lies. In my case, we already had children when all this came to light. They were very young, and they suffered because of it. Even now, 30 years later, the damage from that chaotic time in their childhood still lingers. Co-parenting was a nightmare. Financially, I was wiped out for years. And though we're all in a better place now, it was an incredibly difficult road. I'm grateful you don't have kids involved yet. That would make this whole situation even messier and more painful. Again, maybe I'm being overly paranoid, and maybe the things you love about her are real. But that's the thing. Once someone cheats and lies, you start doubting everything. So I'd really encourage you to evaluate the connection you feel with her. If what I'm saying resonates with your experience, it might help you emotionally separate from her and make the divorce less painful. Incidentally, even now, decades later, my ex and I still have some kind of bond because we had to co-parent. I learned to forgive him, pity him even, but I'll never trust him again. If we hadn't had children, I'm sure we would have cut all ties and moved on with our lives completely. That's the silver lining in your situation. Without kids, you don't have to keep her in your life. I've gone through a lot of therapy to recover from that relationship. I've had other relationships since, and I'm in one now that, while not perfect, is at least with an honest person. What I've learned as I've gotten older is that peace comes from learning to enjoy your own life. I'd rather be alone than with someone who lies to me. You sound like a good person, and I hope you can find your way through this mess she created and rediscover yourself. Being gaslit is horrible, but from what you've shared, it sounds like you're starting to get through it. Best of luck to you. You deserve better. I'm in a similar sort of situation. Earlier this year, I found out my wife had cheated on me after discovering birth control pills in her car. She wouldn't need them since I've had the snip. I confronted her, and she lied at first, saying they were for a hormone imbalance. But the next day she came clean and admitted she'd slept with someone. She claimed it was a one-time thing and said she was sorry. I was furious, couldn't even speak to her, and needed time to process it. 2 days later, my dad unexpectedly passed away, and everything changed. I didn't have the energy to stay angry. There were suddenly worse things to deal with. I wouldn't say I forgave her, but I was willing to move on for the sake of our 2 young kids. But as time went on, her behavior felt different off. I could sense something was still wrong. A couple of months later, I confronted her again, and this time, she admitted the truth. She'd been having an ongoing affair for months. It wasn't just a one-off mistake. It was a full-blown, premeditated betrayal. That was it for me. I filed for divorce, and there's no going back now. My advice? Trust your gut, but also know your worth. This isn't your fault, and it's not on you to fix it. You deserve better. You're the king in this situation. Don't let her take that from you. Take care, brother. Have you ever seen all the conversations or texts between them? A 5-month affair doesn't just end out of nowhere. Something must have happened that pushed her to come clean, and I'd bet it wasn't guilt. More often than not, one affair partner wants more, asks the other to leave their marriage and be together. It sounds a lot like your wife found herself in that exact situation. Maybe her lover wanted her to leave you, and she panicked. Afraid you'd find out through him, she decided to get ahead of the situation by confessing a watered-down version of the truth. Just enough to make it seem like she was being honest, while still hiding the worst of it. Did she ever get tested for STDs during this affair? That would have been the bare minimum to show some level of respect and concern for your health. If she didn't even do that, it speaks volumes about her disregard for you. You need to figure out what's best for you. But if it were me, this would be the end. You'll always wonder what else she's hiding, because you've seen how easily she can lie to you, how natural it is for her to deceive you. From now on, every time she speaks, you'll question whether you're getting the truth or another carefully crafted lie. I think this ultimately comes down to trust. She cheated, confessed, and you admired her honesty. You set up both emotional and financial safeguards in case she proved to be untrustworthy again. Now, it seems that trust has been shattered, not because she cheated, but because she wasn't completely honest about her affair from the start. I'm not in your shoes, and I wasn't there when you compared your drunken kiss Apple cheating to her work party, orange juice affair. So I can't claim to fully understand your emotional landscape or prescribe a clear path for you to follow. But, and I know you were expecting a but, it seems like what's really upsetting you is what Bill's ex-wife revealed, which contradicts the story your wife already told you. You feel betrayed all over again because you believed your wife had already come clean and was working to rebuild your trust. If you think she confessed just enough to ease her guilt and salvage the marriage, well, yes, that's likely true. Most people, when they admit to a mistake, try to frame it in a way that leaves them with the best possible chance of redemption. But here's the key issue. She didn't tell the whole truth, and that's where the problem lies. The lies weren't just before the affair, but in the confession itself, and now you're left questioning everything. There's clearly a communication breakdown between the two of you, and it's a bad sign that she's continued to rely on deception even after being caught. I don't know what drove her to cheat in the first place, or what fear kept her from being honest after the fact, but it's clear she struggles to face her issues head-on without resorting to lies. It's a selfish pattern, one where she prioritizes protecting herself and getting her needs met, regardless of how much hurt it causes others. And the fact that she ended things with Bill? It's probably because, like in your marriage, her needs weren't being met there anymore either. So now, it really comes down to one critical question. Do you trust her? If you can't, that's fine. No one would blame you for walking away and ending the marriage. But if you think you can trust her again, then that means you have to truly believe her actions will match her words from now on. She might be so wrapped up in her self-justifications and needs that she doesn't even fully understand the damage she's done. But you deserve to be with someone who can give you the trust and respect you need, whether that's her or someone else. I hope you find the peace, trust, and respect you deserve. If it's not with her, then I hope you find it with someone who values you as you should be valued. Good luck. Nope, and hell no. If she truly felt remorse, she would have told you the truth from the start. She lied because she knew that if you believed it was only a one-time mistake in a moment of weakness, she could do everything possible to save your marriage and win back your trust. Your wife isn't just remorseful. She's manipulative and calculating. Think about it. If she really felt guilty, how could she continue for 2 whole years knowing she was lying to you, day after day, while you remained clueless? This wasn't just a moment of weakness. It was a full-blown affair. She lied about where she was, who she was with, and what she was doing countless times. She crossed every boundary, emotionally and physically. She was intimate with another man and then came home to you, likely acting as if everything was normal. How many times was she laying next to you, all while her mind was on the other man? How many times was she physically with you, but emotionally reliving moments with him? The fact is, she didn't have real remorse. Her so-called confession wasn't motivated by guilt. It was probably prompted by an outside factor. Maybe a friend found out and gave her an ultimatum. Confess, or they would spill the truth. Whatever it was, her hand was forced. She didn't come clean because she was sorry. She did it because she felt like she had no other option. OP, you got played. Big time. Run. Run faster than Forrest Gump, and don't look back.